Hello, welcome to this video. This time we're going to be talking about how to use automation to improve your Christmas experience. So as you can see here, I've got a very simple holiday display. I've got my tree set up, got a little Christmas village and a train that running around the base there. So we're going to walk through how to use solutions, low-code solutions like IFTTT and smart plugs and Alexa to automate your Christmas experience and to make things a little bit more fun. So the first thing I kind of want to delve into is what we're talking about when we're talking about low-code solutions or automation solutions. So there are a number of solutions out there. I mean, there's Power Automate, there's Zapier, there's Zoho Flow. Most of those kind of focus in the business space, though. But if you want to do some automation in the personal space, with automating things around your home, integrating with devices that you might have around your house, things like Alexa with your smartphone, your Google Assistant. One of the best ways to do that is to use IFTTT, and that stands for if this, then that. And it's basically a way of just automating tasks that you can use to interact with things like your smartphone, like Google and Alexa, and various things, plugs that you have around your house. So we're going to kind of be walking through an example today of how to do that with IFTTT and with a couple of smart plugs and with Amazon Alexa as well. So the first thing that I kind of want to cover with these low-code solutions is that most of them have a free tier that lets you get in there and play around with some of the features for no cost. But in order to really do much more than just very basic things, you're going to have to pay for a subscription of some sort. Ones like Power Automate and Zapier are fairly expensive. IFTTT is not that expensive. So if you kind of look at some of the pricing here, with the free thing, you can create up to 5 applets, but the applets are very simple. You can only have like 1 or 2 steps in each one. But in order to get into things, you can create up to 20 applets for a couple bucks a month, or for $5 a month, you can do unlimited. So that's actually a very good price compared to the other ones. For instance, Power Automate, in order to do anything, you're really going to have to put down $40 a month minimum. So in order to create your Cami, you can use your existing Apple or Google account. You can use Facebook, or you can use your email to sign up. I already have an account set up, so we can go ahead and use that. So there's a few things that you're going to need to set up in order to get going. So for each of the services that you're going to integrate with, you have to set up those connections to those services. In this particular case, the smart plugs, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And Alexa is the other thing that I'm going to integrate with today. So the first thing that I want to kind of cover is the smart plug that I use. I use these Casa smart plugs by TP-Link. The mini ones, they fit perfectly into your plug. You can put 2 of them into a plug outlet. Or, if you have an outlet with 2 plugs in it, you can put 2 smart plugs in there. A lot of the smart plugs that are out there are too big, so that if you plug one into a wall outlet, it covers both outlets, so you can't plug anything into the other one. These fit perfectly, so in this particular case, so I'm using 2 different ones. I'm going to use 1 plug for the tree and 1 plug for the village and the train set. So I can put both of those into a single outlet, and it works very well. So I do recommend these plugs here, these Casa smart plugs. And one of the things that I like most about them is that not only does Casa have its own app, so you don't have to use integration with anything else, or they have a Casa app for them, but you can also integrate them. They have an API that you can integrate with other things as well. And they work well with all the voice assistants, Alexa and Google and things like that. So these are plugs that I really like, and they work very well. I use them for a lot of stuff throughout my house. So let's go ahead and start digging right in. So, you log into your IFTTT account, and what we're going to do is create a new applet. They call them applets. Power Automate, they call them flows. So, but in IFTTT, they're called applets. So just go ahead and create your own. So you start off with what's called a trigger. So the trigger is the thing that starts everything. It might be, some event that happens, might be some activity, might be on a schedule of some sort. So in this particular case, we're going to have Alexa trigger our event. So we go ahead and click on that and type in Alexa. And we go ahead and do that. In this particular case, we want to do, say, a specific phrase. So we want to tell Alexa to do something and have it activate. So you start with, select your account. If you haven't connected it to Alexa already, then you'll need to create that connection.
I got that one.
Sorry, it keeps responding to me. I got to stop saying the word. So you'll connect it to your account to get started, and then you want to tell it what the phrase is. Let's do something a little more creative. We'll say, light up my Christmas tree. And click on create trigger. So we've set up our phrase. So then we want to decide what happens when we do that. So we're going to do activities. With the basic free account in IFTTT, all you can do is one activity in response to a trigger. But with the pro account or the higher account, then you can add multiple activities as well, so that you can chain them one after another, have different things happen when you have a particular trigger. So in this particular case, we're just going to have our smart plug turn on. So first thing we're going to do is click add. In our search box, we'll type in CASA, and then we'll go ahead and click that. So we want it to turn on a device. So in this particular case, we're going to click turn on. So in this particular case, I haven't connected IFTTT to my plugs yet. So I'm going to go ahead and do a connect. And that'll take you out to where you can sign into your account for that. And once you've connected your account, then it'll bring up your account information, and then it'll show you the list of devices. So I've got a number of different devices in here. In this particular case, I want to do a tree. So I'm going to turn on the tree plug. So I'll go ahead and do create action. And that's all we need for this particular one. So go ahead and do continue for now. And we'll expand on this in just a little bit. It's giving you a review to say, okay, if I say, and you have to use the word trigger, unfortunately, for these. So it gives you a review that you can go through and say, okay, if I say this particular phrase, then it's going to turn on that device. And if you want to get notifications every time that an applet runs, you can have that turned on. After a while, it kind of gets a little annoying, but so I generally don't turn that on. So just go ahead and click finish. And that's it as far as setting that up. So when you look at your applets, in IFTTT, you can also see some history. You can see when it was created and connected, as they put it. You can turn them on and off. So if I do that, so to disconnect it, and then you can turn it back on. It'll recreate those connections or set them back up. So if you want to disable an applet for a while, you can do that and say, okay, I don't want you to be able to do anything for now. And then you can do things, you can look at the history. If you want to test it, you can just do click now to test it. And if you want to make it public so that other people can use that same activity or that same applet, then you can publish it out. In this particular case, we're not going to do that. So let's go ahead and test it and see what happens. All right, so we've saved our command applet there, and we're ready to test it out. So let's go ahead and try it and see what happens. Alexa, trigger light up my Christmas tree. And there we go. Say the command phrase, and the smart plug gets turned on, and our lights go on. It's a little annoying that you have to use the keyword trigger, unfortunately. But when you're doing it through IFTTT, because it's an external connection, it requires, the Echo device requires that you use it that way instead of just entering saying the phrase by itself. All right, so I want to take a couple steps back here and just talk a little bit about the smart plugs and setting those up. It's very straightforward. The first thing you're going to need if you're going with this particular brand and device is the Casa Smart app that you can get in either the app stores for your Android or iOS device. So you're just looking for the Casa Smart app. You'll install that on your phone or tablet, whatever it might be that you're using, and then kind of step through here really fast how to go through setting up a new plug. So most of these smart devices work the same way. They have, you have the devices, then they have concepts of groups where you can group multiple devices together and give them a name so that when you interact with them, you can just use the name for a group of devices instead of the individual devices. So you can do it either way. Most of them support both concepts. Adding a device in the app is very simple. You just go into your tablet or phone. You'll go into the app, you'll click add new device. In this particular case, it's asking you whether you want to add a device or group. You select device. Most of them will have, the types of devices. So you'll find the type of device that you're looking for. In this particular case, it's a smart plug. So I selected smart plug. And then it'll ask you for the exact type of smart plug, in which case this one, I'm using the minis. And then what it will do is it will disconnect your phone or tablet from your current Wi-Fi, and it'll connect it to the Wi-Fi on that smart device. So when you first plug in a device, the first time you're setting it up, it'll turn itself into its own little Wi-Fi router, and then the app will know to look for that particular type of device. It'll connect to it, and then it'll say, okay, give me a name, give me, connect me to your Wi-Fi, give me the credentials for that. As you go through those various steps, and then that goes through the whole process, and then connects it to your local Wi-Fi, so that you can then connect to it from other apps and things like your Echo devices from your smart devices from the app here on your phone, whatever it might be. And a lot of times, they'll also give you the ability to put a little icon there, so that when you open it up in the app, you can see a fun little icon there. Or, for the Casa app here, they actually allow you to use custom pictures as well. Not all of them allow you to do that. It just depends on the brand. Once everything is connected and set up, then you can either use your app. I could go in here with the Casa app and turn it on and off. I can use my Echo devices. I can use various activities and actions. And then in this particular case with the TP-Link Casa devices, that also lets me access them from if this then that. So that's a tremendous advantage there. You can connect it, like I say, the Casa devices, they have their own API that you can connect to, but there's not any built-in connectors for something like Zapier or Flow. So if you were going to use, Power Automate. So if you're going to use one of those, you would have to basically create your own custom connection between the two using their web API. So it's a lot more complex and in depth, and it's kind of beyond the scope of this discussion today. I have talked before about how to connect in other blog posts and videos that I've done, how to connect Power Automate to a custom API. So if you want to get more information on that, you can go check out my website and see the blog post that I put on there on how to connect to a custom connector. But because if this then that has a connection to these devices built in, that's why we're going to go ahead and use this for this example today. Things are always a lot easier when somebody else has already done a lot of the legwork for you. All right, so let's jump back into our activity here, our applet. Okay, so what we want to do now is go ahead and make a few changes to this. So it's not kind of really straightforward, but if you want to edit the applet that you've created, you click on settings here. Um, and that takes you back to the design screen here. So I want to change this up just a little bit. So let's go in here and let's change this. We're going to make it a little bit more generic. So we're just going to remove the word tree and update our trigger because we want to do more than just light up the tree. So let's go ahead and do a new activity here. And we're going to do another Casa device. We're going to turn that one on. In this case, we're going to do our Christmas village. So select that smart plug. Okay. So now you can see here when we have our trigger, if we say the specific phrase to our Amazon device, then it's going to turn on our tree, and then it's going to turn on our Christmas village and train. One of the things that I kind of wish it would let you do is to kind of rename these so that it's more descriptive. I mean, obviously, if you look at here, you can't tell just by looking at it which one's which as far as the devices. All you can tell is, this is turning on a Casa smart device. But I don't know if this is the tree or the village. I don't know if this is the tree or the village. So I wish they'd give you the opportunity to rename the steps in the applet so that you can tell which one is which at a glance without having to click in there. That's one of the things that Power Automate lets you do is to edit each of the descriptions, the titles on each of the steps, so that it's more descriptive and more understandable. So that's something I wish that they would add on. So we've added both of our triggers here, or both of our activities here. We want to turn on both of our devices. And we'll test that here in just a minute. Now, one of the things you could do, if you had like a Sonos system or a Mosaic system, is you could actually add something like playing music along with it, triggering playing music. Fortunately, there really aren't any other connections available through IFTTT that allow you to do that at the current time. There's some connections to things like Spotify, but they don't allow you to like start playing a music track or a specific track of music unless you're already connected and playing music, and it'll allow you to do things like pause and restart a track that's already playing if you've already got a Spotify playlist playing, but you can't start one from scratch on any particular device, which is unfortunate. That's an integration that I would love to see get added. To be able to have your Echo or your Spotify or something like that, so just start playing music as part of a trigger. But unfortunately, it doesn't let you do any of that. At least not with any of the things that I've been able to find so far. But you can do that if you want to set up something through, for instance, the Alexa app. So I'm going to walk through how to do that now. All right, so we've shown one way to do it through IFTTT. There's also, if you're using the Echo devices, then there's also a great built-in way to add a couple more features to what you're doing. Alexa has one of these great things called routines, where you can have it. Triggered it. Where you can have it perform a series of activities, just like IFTTT or Power Automate, based on a command that's entered in. So we're gonna go ahead and go to routines. So if you go into your Amazon app and look for routines, you can see I got a couple in there already. Go ahead and create. We'll hit the button in the top left or top right there to create a new routine, and let's just give it a name. If I can spell. And then, as with everything else, you want to do it when there's a trigger. So we're going to use a command word, so voice. Say light up my Christmas. And we're going to use that as our command phrase. So we'll go ahead and hit next. And then we're going to add a series of actions. So we want to go in. First thing we want to do is you can see that there's a bunch of different action types that are offered there, including an integration with IFTTT there. You can do a number of things. So we're going to go ahead and go into smart home because we want to turn on our lights first. So the first thing we're going to do is turn on our tree. So power on. And then the next thing we want to do is turn on our other plug, which was our village. And so, basically we're back to the same place that we had with IFTTT, if this and that, where we put in the command and it will turn on our two plugs. But we want to go a step beyond. We want to add some more additional things that we can't do with IFTTT. So let's go ahead and add another action here. We're going to go down here and find music and podcasts. So we want to have it start playing some Christmas music. I think there's a channel called Christmas Favorites. So we want to do that. And if you want to have it go for a certain amount of time, you can set a timer there. Go ahead and hit next. Then you'll see down here at the very bottom, there's an option where it says from. So basically what that does is if it's going to start doing something like playing music on one of your Echo devices, do you want it to play to a specific device, or do you want it to play to the device that received the command? So you can do that. You can change the devices you want to go to. In this particular case, I want it to start playing on whatever device it was that I gave the command to. So that's all we have for that. So we'll go ahead and click Save. So you can see there it says it may take up for a minute for a voice routine to be ready to use. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and give it a try and see what happens. All right, so we're ready to do our test. So let's see what happens. Alexa, light up my Christmas. All right, so I can't let the music keep playing. Got to avoid those copyright strikes. But so you can see there, it's turned on the tree, it's turned on the train and village, and it started playing Christmas music from the device that I issued the command to. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with the routines. You can automate just about anything that has a smart device attached to it. You can have it, there are systems like laser light shows and all kinds of things that you can get that will accept external commands, and so you can pretty much automate just about anything that has a plug almost. So there's a lot of really cool stuff out there that you can do. All right, so we're jumping back over here to if this and that. We want to do one more example, I think. Let's go ahead and create a new one. So obviously we've automated turning on our holiday display, but you don't want to let it run all the time. So you just want to have it put in something so that no matter what, if it's running, say 11 p.m. every night, you want it to shut off, whether it's on or off or whatever status might be. So what we're going to do is do it on a schedule. Sorry, it's time. So it's date and time. So say every day at 11:30 p.m. Let's do 11:15 p.m. So say every day at 11:15 p.m. Then we want to turn off our devices. So let's find our plugs here. So turn off. I want to turn off the village. And we want to turn off our tree. So every single day, this will run at 11:15 and p.m. And then it will turn off both of those smart plugs. So that way you're not running it when everybody's asleep in bed. So we'll give this a name here. I'll say shut off holiday. And click finish. And that's it. It's very simple to set up something to flip things on and off. All right, so we've kind of looked at a couple ways to automate things for fun, but there's a lot of reasons to make use of automation. It's not just about the fun parts. One of the things that has been around for a long time is like smart timers that you put on lights and things like that. It gives the illusion you can set it up to have the lights and various things come on and off at various times. You can play music at various times. Maybe have something that automates your TV, things like that. It gives the illusion that somebody's home. So as thieves or criminals want to come and steal, by having these kinds of automations, things happening, noises, lights, it tends to discourage that kind of thing. So it's not just for the fun that the automation can make your holidays better. You can use it to also help discourage problems at home. You can use it to help secure your home, make it a safer place. So that's another reason to kind of get into home automation. There are so many devices out there that you can automate: blinds and window shades, lights, plugs, and there are a lot of dedicated security devices out there. There are indoor cameras, outdoor cameras, motion sensors, all those kinds of things that you can tie all this together. And if for instance, if a camera spots a person, I've got one of those front door cameras that when it detects a person standing or approaching your door, it'll send alert. Rings an alert and will notify you that there's somebody at the door. So, in addition to recording it, so. But not only that, I mean, I can hook that into my Echo devices and have it trigger, uh, you know, something popping up on my TV or on my Echo devices that have the screen, or sending a notification to my phone, or things like that. So, it it's all up to you, the kinds of things that you can, how far you want to take it. I mean, I personally wouldn't use indoor cameras. I think that's just a little bit too far, especially given a number of the security issues that have been revealed in a number of these cameras in recent months and years. But certainly around the outside of the house is a place that I do have a number of cameras and motion detection, things like that. So home automation is not just for fun. It does a lot of practical things as well. Other things it can do, you can automate, you're waking up in the morning, using things like routines with the Echo devices. You can have it not only set off an alarm, but it can also start playing music. It can, give you a morning information. It can have it automatically turn on the lights in addition to setting off your alarm. So there's a lot of different fun things and practical things that you can do with automation. And it gives you one significant advantage over the old style, just electric timers. If you just want to turn lights on and off, that's, the electric timers were fine. But what happens if the power goes out, or if it gets unplugged or something like that for a while, and then it gets plugged back in, and then it's no longer set to the right time, and those electric plugs, timer plugs don't always keep the best time either. I've had a number of them over the years, and most of them always seem to go faster or slower than the actual clock. And so, for one device, it would go through the supposedly 24-hour cycle in 22 hours, and within 3 or 4 days, my lights are no longer on the right time because it's gotten a couple hours off. Whereas smart devices with smart automation, it's always connected to those cloud instances, but that's also a disadvantage. So it's never going to lose time, but if you lose your Wi-Fi connection or your internet connection, then they stop working. For the most part, there are some devices that'll still keep going, but for a lot of it, it's all dependent and reliant on that internet connection. So if you have problems with your internet, whether or not your electricity works, the smart devices can stop working as well. So there are advantages and disadvantages to everything. It's just a matter of how much dependency you want to put onto it, and it's going to depend on the reliability of your network connections and your home, electricity and things like that. There's certain areas where power outages and internet outages are relatively rare, and there are other areas where it's still an issue. So it's all up to you how far you want to take it and how comfortable you are with it. Another cool thing is there's devices out there that will sync lights to music. There are a number of smart bulbs, things like that, so it will flash the lights based on the sounds that it's hearing, the music sounds. So you kind of flicker the lights to the music kind of thing. That's kind of fun as well. Another great use for automation, in the home are these smart thermostats that are out there, whether it's Nest or Honeywell or Train or pretty much all the vendors have smart thermostats these days, and most of those smart thermostats can connect into your smart devices like Echo and that, and Google Home and whatever it might be. So that not only can you make adjustments from anywhere, but you can also set up smart schedules. You can have it react to things. Say if there is a camera detects a person, in the living room, turn on your thermostat and make sure it's set to a certain amount. You can have location-based automation. So when you're on your way home from work, if your phone detects that you're 2 miles from home, then it goes on, kicks on your thermostat up 5 degrees or whatever it might be for the day. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with location-based automation. When I get to a certain location, remind me to do something. So maybe if I get within a mile of a grocery store, remind me to pick up butter. Whatever. So you can take it as absurd as you want. And there are also, I think, devices that take it too far. I mean, there's smart connected everything nowadays. Ovens, toasters, refrigerators. I personally see no point in automated appliances like that. I don't need a text message when my washing machine is done. I can tell when it's done. I can hear it, or I can check on it. I don't need to have it alert my telephone or things like that. It's just there are things that are useful, things that are cool, but there are things that I think take it way too far. And that's smart appliances is one area where I've kind of stayed away. But to each their own. If you think it's cool, if you think that's something you want to do, then more power to you. The biggest downside overall, I think, to home automation is that everything does not work with everything else. And it would be great if every automation device worked with every device. It would be great if every smart plug worked with every, AI assistant. It'd be great if every smart light bulb, was able to be controlled by every, device, whatever it might be. But it just isn't there. It's not the place. There's so many different standards, so many competing standards from one to the other. And, each device only supports a certain number of things or a certain number of interfaces. And so, and the great example of that is just, the automation applications themselves. If this, then that connects to a lot of things that Power Automate doesn't. And Power Automate connects to a lot of things that if this, then that doesn't connect to. So it's the whole ecosystem could stand to have a great deal of improvement as far as cross compatibility. So when you're deciding the system you're going to go with, deciding what devices you're going to get, you need to make sure that you're doing your research, that you're checking to see what connects to what and what's compatible with what, so that you're not left holding a bunch of devices that don't work with each other. And the other problem is some of these systems go away. I mean, you're dependent on these third-party companies maintaining their cloud support for various devices. And we've seen time and again where a company decides they're going to discontinue a particular service, or a company goes out of business entirely. And then you're left with hundreds or thousands of dollars in devices that you can no longer do anything with. And 9 times out of 10, when that happens, you're pretty much screwed. There's nothing you can do except throw out all the old stuff and start over. So there's definite risks to getting involved in automation. That's something you have to be aware of and watch out for as you're going through and decide what you want to automate and what you don't want to automate. So hopefully this gives you just a brief kind of introduction to the kinds of things that you can do with automation and through the various systems that are out there and available. And really the limits of it are just, the limits of your imagination. Some of the things are easier to automate and, have those built-in features. And some things are a little bit more difficult. They have to, for instance, having to create your own APIs and things like that to get into stuff. But, for the stuff that's out there, especially with the things that are built into the Amazon system, into IFTTT, Power Automate, there are so many different systems that you can connect to, so many things you can automate, so many things that you can control with your smart devices. And it's just amazing, really, the kinds of things that you can end up with. This is just a really small peek into those kinds of things. And really, the limits of it are just limits to your imagination. So here's hoping that this was a little bit helpful to you and that you have a very happy holidays. Thank you.